back, Charlie.
People, Deluded, I'm back again. Special guest settings. Everyone's like, bring Babs on, man. Get Babs. The man is here now. I hope you're all happy. How you doing, my bro, man? One love for coming on the channel as usual. Nice new lights, man. I swear they were red last time.
Yeah, I changed the colour for once for the same lights. But appreciate the invite as always, man. Good to hear to talk some Arsenal and speak to yourself, my son.
Come on, my guy. As you said there, speaking Arsenal, not that there's much to speak about, but again, one of the things people have asked me to ask you, are you concerned about the lack of signings or the lack of progress? Because, I know no two seasons are alike, but last summer, it felt like we got the signings in early. Was going to America, they were all here. This time, it's kind of radio silence around a lot of players. It seems like the Calafiori thing is dragging. How's your thoughts with that?
Look, I'm not worried about signings because we have to realise that where we're at now, we don't have clear upgrades anymore. A team got nearly 90 points last season. When you got a team that caliber, you have to sign players that are the perfect profile, and they upgrade the team straight away. So a couple of years ago, you could have signed anyone and upgraded the team there and there. But now we've got a team that's so good now that the players that we're trying to sign are a higher caliber. And they take time to make it happen. So I'm not worried about it whatsoever. Plus, there was the Euros as well. That's always a drag. And I remember,
a Copa America.
Exactly. Last time there was Euros 2021, we only signed the likes of Ramsdale, Odegaard, and Ben White mainly after the Euros happened. So I'm not too concerned anyways.
Being devil's advocate, yeah, you just said it there. Like, what did you say? You said something along the lines of there's not any clear upgrades. For what it's worth, I agree with you, but purely being devil's advocate, we can't disregard Kai Havertz's form, especially, at the end of the season and his run. But some people would say that is a clear area to improve. So what do you make of the whole striker search? And do you think it's deep that we sign a striker or not?
No, listen, I would love to sign a striker, but we have to realise that we're also looking at right now is a market where how many strikers are there that you can say he's the one go and get? Victor
Can't
Osimhen?
really.
If I talked about Osimhen, there's comments straight away going, I'm not sure about Osimhen. But then why do you spend £100 million on him? So because there's no obvious upgrade, I'm not going. Havertz is a player who scored 13 goals last season, and towards the end of it he performed when it mattered the most. There's obviously upgrades in the market, but who is it? Give me a name first, and then we'll talk about it. So I think what Arsenal have done this market, they've gone for players that are opportunity based, which they always do, by the way. Let's not forget last year Rice was available. That's why they go and spend £100 million on him. There's no point of bidding for players that are not available and then trying to make them available because those players they're gonna go and cost well and above. And we've seen clubs in the past demand stupid amount of money. Look at the fact that Caicedo cost 115 last summer. He wasn't available, but Chelsea made him available. Amazing, but
and certain midfielders who their best performance is being racing. But, yeah,
do you know what I mean? So Enzo Fernandez as well. So that's what I'm saying. I think Arsenal looking at Williams as an example, Calafiori. These are players that we can go and sign, and if they can improve the team, then you go and make it happen.
Do you think we can afford not to sign a striker or a winger going into the market in season?
I think I'd love to sign a forward, whether it's a striker or a winger. I need to see more options, just upgrade the team because we've spent so much defensively and even in goalkeepers in terms of midfield, Declan Rice as well. Up front, you're right, there's an area to improve. But for me, if I'm going to be honest, if we're going to sign someone, it's going to be a wide forward. And I'm not sure who that is. I see the rumours today about Nico Williams. I think that'd be a fantastic signing.
Would love that. But
and I think just someone that would pace, someone that, when we're in the Champions League, you give him the ball, and he's going to cause some mayhem. And that was Saka and Martinelli. We've got those profiles to add on top of that, a bit more pace as well. So we're not relying just on Gabriel Martinelli's pace. I think that's what I want more than anything.
How do you feel about central midfield?
I think midfield itself, centrally, it looks like Thomas Partey's going to stay now. And if Partey can stay fit for 20 plus games, I think he's an amazing player. I think last year the issue with Partey was last year was we've not seen him injured that much. We've seen him injured before for like 5-10 games a year, but not the whole season basically. That's why I'm not gonna give him a bit of slack there for sure. But with Partey there and Rice there, and you got Jorginho as well, these are three players that can start. So I'm not too concerned about number 6 as much, but number 8's where I want to have a player. But it depends on what profile Arteta wants. I've even we speak on the Cannon podcast all the time, and George is very tactical.
Make sure you're following that, people.
Exactly, and he's got an idea that Mikel wants to play maybe Timber there. Wants to try Jurriën Timber there because
I did a video on that. I don't think that's far removed, really.
Exactly.
I don't think it will happen, but yeah.
Right now, it sounds mad to say that because we haven't seen it as fans. But if let's just say we see it in pre-season, fans will go, okay, maybe this is Mikel Arteta's plan. But number eight's the area where I think we could sign a player. Personally, I'd actually prefer a more attack-minded number eight, someone who can dribble with the ball. And look, Smith Rowe's most likely going to leave anyways, so an upgrade on Mill Smith Rowe. And the player that stands out to me all the time is Eberitz Eze. £60 million release
Would
clause
love
there.
that.
You paid that money, Premier League experience as well, former Hell boy as well. So there's a storyline there. The price tag's there, and I think he'd improve our team straight away.
You said it there in relation to midfield, yeah. Like I agree with you. I think for me, anyways, I think Mikel Arteta probably wants two multifunctional players that can play as eights and sixes in the Declan Rice ilk. And I'm sure you've probably had several conversations, depending on how you speak to with Arsenal fans. Some people want a six, some people want an eight, some people want both, which is the camp I'm in. But then you've got Mr. Declan Rice. How do you feel about him continuing as playing as an eight, or do you think he'll go back to being a six?
I think his long-term position is number six for sure. I think defensively he's so good, in terms of just playing on his own. There's very few players in world football that can do that. Just hold it on its own. And I think right now he's an option to play as an eight. So certain games where you're playing in a big game and you want to play Jorginho as a six and have him as an eight, you got the option. And I think that's why we have to realize more and more teams are going to park the bus against Arsenal now. We're going to have to be more and more attacking. So having Rice as your go-to number eight doesn't make sense. He's not going to be able to crash the box like other players can do or dribble past players and make something happen. So I think he's good to have in certain options. And we're not going to have the same exact team every single game. It's not going to be the same team before 22-23 with Xhaka starting and Partey and Odegaard. We're going to chop and change at times. But Rice for me long term is number six. But in certain game states, if you want to press high and have a number eight that can clamp teams down, then I think it's a good option.
I think we can't not talk about midfield and talk about Mikel Moreno. Obviously, he's been linked aggressively with Arsenal Football Club. He's 28, got a year left on his deal. Apparently, Mikel Arteta wants him. How do you feel about him?
I think, look, have I seen the player play that often? Not at all. So from what I'm going off is what people have that have seen him play, and they're very impressed by him. Look, we saw him play in the Premier League for Newcastle. He wasn't that impressive at all.
Nothing to scream a shout about there.
Exactly, really. And he's come back and he's done well for himself since then, obviously. And he was in the Spain squad, of course, won the Euros as well. It's the price tag, and the age as well. I think what Arsenal looking for this window is players that won't take time to adapt. If you sign a young player, you look at United right now, they're going for Euro, who's 18.
Generational talent, man. I'm angry that
fantastic player. But if you go and sign that player, he might take a year to adapt. We want to win a title next year. We need players that can come and give us extra 2-3 points. And that's the margin we're talking about here. We're not talking about extra 20 points here. We're talking 5-10 points max. And so you're looking for small upgrades. And if you sign Moreno, you can give us a bit more fitness and a bit of availability than Partey can do. And he can give us a passing profile in certain games and go for it. And especially because his price tag's not high at all. It's an opportunity that you go and take straight away. I think fans have the idea of phase 5 and it's like we're going to go sign Messi and Ronaldo and Mbappe. And that's not how it is. Phase 5 is just smaller upgrades. The better you get, the less you can upgrade. And, we're going to go for the top players for sure, And if we sign Calafiori, for example, that's a top defender that a lot of teams in Europe would love to have. And from now on, if we were going to sign players, they're going to have to be top caliber or players that improve our squad straight away.
You spoke on it, yeah, and it ties into what I wanted to ask you. Like, how do you feel about the Calafiori signing? I don't want to say it took you by surprise, because if you was to break down the players Mikel Arteta signed, we've signed a lot of goalies, we've signed a lot of defenders. For me personally, Calafiori is a welcome addition on top of what we've got now, especially because I think everyone could see last season, as good as we were, we didn't have a consistent left back. Timber had the massive injury. Kirill and Zinchenko, they were neither here nor there. So I'm a big fan of him, whether he's going to play as a centre half or as a left back. But how do you feel about him? What do you think he brings to the table? And also, what do you think it actually means for Kirill and Zinchenko as well, man?
Listen, I honestly think Zinchenko's going to go anyways, and I think that's fair for him. I don't think we need him as a main profile anymore, and that's fair, by the way. Let's not forget he came into our team, we were 4th and 5th, and we fought for the title with him. So he improved us, he bridged that gap straight away, but we're in the state now where we don't want to have any weaknesses defensively. There's not a single player you want to go, we can attack that side. And if you sign someone like Calafiori, you're getting rid of any weaknesses whatsoever. And even Kirill, for example, like his best position is a centre-back. And with Gabriel Magalhaes there, he ain't going to play there. And so I think with the amount of teams that have interested him in Serie A as well, you cash in now, it's the best time to sell him. And there's nothing wrong with that as well. Not every signing has to be a guaranteed start for 10 years' time. If you can sign a player, get a year or two out of him, recoup some value, maybe make a profit, that's a very good transfer there and there. And Calafiori for me is an upgrade. He's a more naturally suited to play left-back. He can drive the ball forwards better, he's more comfortable. And I think the thing with Kirill is he's got quality, but he's not got authority. He's not got the ability to demand.
That's a great way of putting that.
Whereas Calafiori, if you watch him play for Italy, he wants the ball. He wants to make things happen. He's not scared to try things. You look at that. The goal they scored to keep themselves in the Euros, where he drives from the halfway line. That there is authority, and I think Mikel wants personality on the ball, and Calafiori offers that in abundance.
Do you think we sell both Kirill and Zinchenko? And also on that, like, if you had to, would you sell both, or if you was to keep one, which one are you going to? Because I'm quite conflicted.
Yeah, it's weird because actually, if you sign Calafiori, it kind of makes Kivio's profile redundant because they're the same player, but Calafiori is just an upgrade. So I think Kivio's the one you sell straight away because you won't get as many minutes.
There's
He's probably a
market
bit
for
more
him as well, as
reliable
you
than
said.
Zinchenko. And Zinchenko itself, like in certain games, he will be useful. But we're not talking like 20 games. We're talking maybe 5, 10 in get certain game states as well where we're chasing the game. Maybe the Champions League where you've got a lot of the ball, you want someone to break the lines. Maybe you keep Zinchenko there, but both of the players, I think Zinchenko's got a little bit less of a contract, and that's why I think
Two
he's the player
years, I
who's going to
think.
leave most
Yeah.
likely. Yeah, and we're not going to extend the contract either. Whereas Kivio is a bit younger as well, so he's got a bit more long term value. But I think both of them end up leaving. I'll be honest, maybe we'll sign another left back as well on top of that, or maybe let a youth player come through instead. But I think if I had to sell one, it'd be Zinchenko because I think he's got more value and I think he's got less of a contract. So it's the best time to sell him now.
Do you know what? I'm conflicted, man, because on one hand, I think there's no in between with Kiri. I'll be honest. I think some Arsenal fans have overrated certain performances from him, and I do
Yeah, of
think
course.
some people like when he's not even made a mistake, but for instance, you look at the Bayern Munich game, or you look at the 0-0 draw against City, where Bernardo Silva done a skill shock surprise.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing too much. I agree with you in the sense of you're getting nowhere near Gabriel, and you don't look comfortable at left back, whether it's the inverted or in the natural role. So you could look to move him on, and it seems like there's more of a market for for Kiri. Apologies. I don't. Obviously, we don't know if bids are actually being made, but every day you type in his name, me and you make similar content. You see him linked with several other clubs. We had the Bayerns and the Newcastles where Zinchenko's concerned. I don't know. But then I lean towards more selling Zinchenko because, as you said, with Calafiori, with Tomiyasu, with Timber, I think we're well stocked there. Zinchenko's probably on more significant wages than Kivio's on, and he's obviously older. And the very fact that he's got 2 years left and he is, he has got proven pedigree. He's won several titles with City. The very fact that that's running down for me can't be a coincidence. And I can see a reality where we sell both. But as much as I expect it, assuming they both stay to be kind of marginalized players, bro, I don't know if I want them both to go because Arteta said we've got one of the smallest squads. I'm sure you'd agree. We want to compete for everything. Champions League is a new format where there's more games. We need to keep players. For Kivio, he probably does need to move on. Kind of carrying on with the Calafiori talk here. I'm sure with your friends and everyone, you have certain conversations. But where you're looking at Arsenal's back five, we've got good problems. Now everyone can assume Raya as the starting goalie, probably Benjamin White as the right back, the two centre halves. But for me, it feels like people are writing off Timber. Now again, like you said, there's talk of Timber playing in central midfield. Obviously, a couple of our players are versatile and it's good problems. But who's the first choice left back for you?
I think first choice left back is a left footer. And if you're signing Calafiori, I think he'll be a first choice straight away. But for Yuri and Timber, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at the back four and, as you say, he might start elsewhere. But, we talked about last year Ben White not having a player to rotate with. And now you've got a player who can play on the right back. So why are we complaining about that? I think fans,
him and Saka together would be crazy,
We need to get used to, and we've seen also certain game states where if Ben White's struggling, Mikel will take White off and he'll bring Tomiyasu on or just a different option. So if you've got Timber to bring on or even start in certain games, then you can go for it. And I think as fans, we're not used to depth. So when we see it, we're like, hang on a minute, we're not.
We're like, that player's over. It's finished now.
We still see ourselves as Arsenal 3 years ago, where players might not want to be here if they're not starters. We're a team fighting for titles now. Players want to be here because if they're here, they might get a medal. And by that state alone, Timber's going to be happy to be here. We didn't sign him last year anyways, and he's almost like a new signing regardless. So, but I would not be surprised, and I think fans should expect it as well, to see him maybe play a bit higher up at times, and maybe start him in front. Because he's so comfortable in the pockets. He's able to receive the ball, and he's also another player who's got a lot of authority on the ball. He'll demand it, he'll make things happen. He's played for Ajax as well, and I'm pretty sure he started off as a midfielder regardless. So he's used to playing higher up, and it's not going to be a surprise to him. But I think Timber's definitely not a bit underrated, but I think a bit of a forgotten man, because people forget we signed him last summer, and now we're getting a new defender. You got the shiny new toy syndrome.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it is what it is. Once he plays a few more games and people see his quality again, then fans will be very excited.
I'm all for it. I want good problems, and truthfully, for me, I don't know. In the sense of, as you said, Calafiori's a natural left footer. Obviously, he's played more statistically at left back than he has at centre half. He's got all the raw tools. I do think we was robbed because of Timber's injury and Partey of what we could have seen on that left hand side for Arsenal. I don't think Tomiyasu would be the first choice, but he does have some quality, and you never know. I always say all these players just give Mikel Arteta problems, bro. Like Timber play out of this world, so he's thinking, Calafiori has to play left back. I have to get Timber in. No, Timber can't play right back because Benjamin White's form is out of this world. We've dreamed for days like this. Everyone remembers the Pablo Maris, the Socrates, the Mustafis. I don't really like throwing David Luiz into that, but David Luiz, Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, we've got good problems. We've got a young, I don't even think the young thing kind of continues, but we've got a young sort of defensive quarters, and they're all getting better and better and better. So I'm all for it, man. I just hope we get the Calafiori deal over the line. Kind of keeping up the theme with Calafiori, looking at the Euros. it's all said and done. Southgate's gone. Obviously, back to back L's. You know, Saka enhanced his reputation. Declan Rice struggled, in my opinion. You know, Saliba did well. What do you make of the Euros, man, and our Arsenal boys during the Euros, man?
I think in terms of the Euros itself, quality wise, it was fairly
Horrible,
boring. Most games, I'm gonna say it right now, it wasn't.
Say it with chest, but it was
watch.
dead. Even the final,
and
was
I was at. I think I was out at 3 of the 4 England games.
I even forgot. Yeah, you was there. You was at a couple of the games.
So
you was there
even the final itself, like, you know, the final itself, because it's more heightened, you enjoy a bit more. But the quarterfinals and the last 16, apart from the few moments here and there, it was very boring.
It was dead,
I think the quality is so, and you can see now that certain teams that have more, I guess, club-like managers, like you look at Spain, for example, the tactics they play, and it's more club-like, more organised than the whole moments-based Southgate type of football. You can see the difference there and there. So for England next, you have to go and get a coach that can coach a club straight away. If Southgate leaves now, who's gonna go get him? Would he want him at Arsenal? Not a chance.
We're gonna see him on ITV,
so
bro.
There you go. So he's more of a director based. He can, but international football's changing now as well. You saw it in the last tournament in the Euros where Mancini won it and the football they played. And you look at the teams like France as well. I think Deschamps is gonna maybe go soon as well. So I think the way international football is changing now, we with the quality of football we see club wise and the tactics now and how much fans now understand as well. Then we go and see that international football and it's more old school based, a bit more slower. Fans don't want to see that. They want to see entertainment. And I think this tournament was fairly boring and I didn't quite enjoy the football. But the moments were nice here and there.
No, man, I think you're bang on. I think it was summed up by moments. Like, obviously, you saw a lot of young players doing good things. There were some, I won't say, when I say entertaining games, I agree with you in that. I wouldn't say for 90 minutes there's been a single game I really enjoyed. I look at Turkey, Austria. There is a couple of exceptions to the rules. I just think it was quite boring. And I don't want to sound like a back in my day merchant, but it just feels like as much as I and you, because you like to do that as well, sit here and talk tactically and look at those things. As much as I find that stuff exciting, pound for pound ability and stuff, I think football's too system based. I mean, individuals always going to make it, but it's far too systemic. And again, like you kind of alluded to with Southgate, if you haven't got a system, you're in trouble. You can't play out from the back. With respect to Jordan Pickford, who's one of the better players, we're going long. You don't win the first or second balls. Can't play out from the back. Can't press from the front. Disillusioned in midfield. I don't know how we got to the final. We failed upwards, but then you can't really be surprised that Spain won. And to be brutally honest with you, Spain, beyond the obvious, were the deserving winners, bro. In that, if anyone was entertaining, if anyone was quality, if anyone was a joy to watch, it was the Spaniards. Why did Declan Rice look so? I don't want to slander him, but he looked quite poor in an England shirt, and I'm happy I've never seen that in an Arsenal shirt. And obviously, a lot of players did. But for you, why did Declan Rice look out of sorts? Because some people say, "Oh, he was playing in the 8 role for Arsenal. He's back in the 6. He might have struggled because of that." Where you at with it, man?
Look, we've seen Rice get man of the match after man of the match as a number 6 for Arsenal. It's nothing to do with him playing as a 6 or an 8. And the fact that, look, Pep wanted him, Mikel Arteta wanted him. They both wanted to play him in that role anyways. And so when you look at that profile there and the fact that he's got that level of accolade, he can play there for sure. It's how you platform him, who you put him next to. And Arsenal, when you got Martin Odegaard who wants to drop deeper, collect the ball and take it forwards.
And you're told exactly what you need to do all the time.
And everything, Mikel Arteta's, all his tactics, as you said, pre-designed. We know exactly where to pass to, who's going to be where, who's going to rotate. England is a lot more vibes-based, feel of the game type of vibe. And that's not Rice as a player. He's, the way he's been brought up in football, it's different. And so I'm not surprised to see him struggle there. Also with the pressure of England as well, the way we play, Rice is the only player I perform poor. Even the likes of Foden and Bellingham weren't amazing either. So I'm not surprised to see Rice get a bit scapegoated at times. He definitely wasn't amazing, I'll tell you that for a fact. But I'm not worried whatsoever because I know under Mikel Arteta, he's not going to spend £105 million on a player who can't play ball. He definitely can, and we've seen it for Arsenal anyways. And so you put him next to Martin Odegaard and you platform him correctly, then I think we'll see him thrive again. But for England, there was a lot of players that struggled on the ball. The likes of Stones was pretty poor in my eyes. Kyle Walker was abysmal. So in terms of Rice himself, I'm not worried whatsoever. We'll see the best of him once he gets back on an Arsenal shirt.
What are you saying for Saka, man? Because I mean, I can't ask you what you're saying for Saka because the guy is amazing. Somehow, I think Saka's got this ability of somehow still impressing us, even though it's not impressive in the sense that we're used to it. But for me, it was a joy to watch on occasion because he's becoming inevitable. I want to pick my words wisely, but he's becoming a black Iron Robin in that he's cutting in off that left-hand side and no one's stopping him. I must admit, I do see him do that at Arsenal. I know there's some systemic reasons as to why that's not happening. But it did make me think, as much as I like what you're doing, Mikel Arteta, I want to see Saka dropping a bit more of these skills and being a bit more entertaining. What did you make of Saka's performances?
Yeah, 100% for England, he's more of an outlet, and that's because that's the only level of pace that we have. Whereas at Arsenal, when you've got Gabriel Martinelli and other players like that who can run in behind, and even Kai Havertz, then it becomes a bit different. But yeah, for England, the reason why Saka scores so many goals and gets so many assists is because he's asked to make more runs in behind, and he's more of the final action player. And plus, you've got Harry Kane next to you, who's meant to be good in terms of supplying, even though he wasn't that good this tournament. But in terms of
Pouring so
the
much.
arrogance and the ego that he's played with now, that's what I want to see. You know, the goal that he scored, to take a shot from there when England needed it most, and it's 1-0, 1-0 down as well, that shows that he's got self-belief again. The penalty as well, calm, composed, right into the bottom right-hand corner. Celebrations, we've seen the blah, blah, blah stuff as well. I like that. I want to see
Becoming
that.
a villain, man. I
Because
love it.
because ultimately we don't want to see a nice guy anymore. Do you look at Cristiano Ronaldo as a nice guy? No, you don't, but he used to cut inside and bang it top bins, and he's the best player in the world. And for Saka to be in that category and to be into the world class, that undeniable category, you have to be a villain. You have to, play up to your strength as well, and show your quality when it matters the most. And we've seen it at the World Cup, we've seen it at the Euros again in back-to-back tournaments. I think he's undeniable now for England. I don't want to see no more, of other players getting platformed. Foden's the
Don't
best.
compare him
Foden's
to
the
that poster boy in the last two Euros
he,
who brought nothing to the table.
that's what I'm
Please don't
saying.
mention. Shout out Cole
Talk
Palmer,
about.
but I don't know about Foden.
Shout out Palmer, man. But talk about players that actually turn up and have, credit in the bank. And Saka's got
Exactly.
3 tournaments now where he's turned up, surprised a lot of fans, and now for me, he's undeniable. And plus, look, I'll be real. On Twitter, you see a lot of fans and on social media, fans saying Saka this, Saka that. When you go to the game and you see the fans around him, they love him, and there's no one even talks about dropping him.
I think you're bang on the money, man. People can't talk on Saka. I mean, the only thing people always move the goalposts with the guy. I don't quite agree with it, but people say, "Oh, he's not aesthetically pleasing. He's not fun to watch. He doesn't move me." I don't care about that. There's plenty of footballers that can do all the party tricks, but they're not getting the goals. They're not making the decisive
Do you think
action.
Erling
They're not
Haaland's
making it.
aesthetically pleasing?
Exactly. We're not on that. There's bare guys that are probably more entertaining in the Premier League for me to watch than Bukayo Saka, but they're not, because he's got an air of, as you said, inevitability about him. It annoys me. What did you make of Saliba? Because he also enhanced his reputation. And I gotta ask you this again: like, is he the best centre back in the world?
Look, he's in a conversation for sure. I think what he needs now is a few more medals. Once he gets a few medals, a Premier League title, a Champions League, or a World Cup or something like that, then it becomes you can't even deny it anymore. He'll get that. I think fans are waiting to say that, but it's just a matter of him actually getting over the line in these big finals and getting to that stage. And look, he will. He's getting to the stage now. But look at his resume now. Euros team of the tournament. He was a Liga Young Player of the Year.
Left centre back as well.
Team of the season as well. Exactly, in a different position as well. And I think now, we talked about Saliba being the future of France defensively. Now that he started that tournament, we can actually have that conversation. And
he's the presence now. He's the presence.
A lot of top players coming through, but you look at Euro as an example. Another top young French talent coming through. But Saliba's now at the age now he's going to start for them in tournaments. He's undeniable, and even Deschamps had to acknowledge that. He had to
stop that nonsense.
Canate, look, he might be good, but Saliba's better, and I have to give him
Go
a
watch
start.
Naruto, man. The real centre backs have arrived, man.
Exactly, and no one regrets it now. No French fan goes, Saliba this, Saliba that. He enhanced reputation, and he's a player I look at and go, if we didn't have him now and he's still playing for Saint Etienne, he's going to Real Madrid. Guaranteed.
I think he'll end up there one day, man. But
he's going. Well, I hope not. But he's a player who's meant to be at the highest level, highest stage, because he thrives there. He looks at place there. He looks at home there. And this Euros tournament was another example of that.
I know it's two different positions here, but we've spoken about Saka and Saliba. Hand on heart, who goes the furthest in the game? Like, okay, trophies and all of that is one thing, but like, who is going to be kept in higher regards? Because I do think Saka at one point, but then I actually believe it's Saliba. It's like, and there's no slight on Saka. It's just Saliba was born to play football. The man's just a generational talent. As you said, he just goes up the levels. Arteta didn't want him in the team at one point, didn't think he was levels. Now he's obviously indispensable. Deschamps was talking nonsense, indispensable. And again, obviously, Saliba will do well to get to the latter stages of his career, like Van Dijk and Rudiger, to be in this conversation. But at 23, 22, however old he is, them lot weren't where he is now. They weren't. No. And the scary thing is he's not the finished article. So yeah, who's got the highest ceiling out of the two feet?
In terms of how football fans are going to rate them, I reckon Saliba is going to get more because of the whole aesthetic bias anyways. And he's had a picture perfect career in terms of he was a young talent. A lot of people rated. Arsenal going to spend £30 million on him, which at the time was a lot of money. He had a couple years where he was kind of held back, but past that, he went to Liga again. Marseille won Young Player of the Year there, helped them in the Champions League. Come back
that
to
tackle
Arsenal,
on Mbappe as well.
Exactly, helped us fight for a title straight away in his first season back at Arsenal. He was in the PFA Team of the Year as well straight away. So looking at that there and his resume and the fact that he's signed up for France now as well, Saliba will be held in a higher regard because Saka, as we can see, he's naturally underrated because he's so good at everything, but he's not got this world class one trait that you can go, okay, that's where he's the world
And he
class
plays
at.
for Arsenal. Let's
Yeah,
not forget that as well.
exactly, Arsenal as well. But yeah, I think football we see it all the time. Aesthetic bias is real. It is real. Why do you think Foden gets so much rating? It's because
Because
of
he
the
can
aesthetic
turn on,
bias.
like he can do a little spin
Exactly.
on the turn,
And when
and he'll score a
fans
hat
see
trick
stuff
against
like that and
Ipswich.
it wows them, then they're going to get that. And Saliba gets the wow factor all the time. How many times have we seen it for Arsenal? Do some random stuff from centre back, dribble past you man and go, wow. You know, that's why I think Saliba's going to be held in a higher regard. But in terms of quality of career, how much they're going to win, it could be equal, you know. But Saliba plays for France and they're used to winning more trophies.
You said
Saka
it
plays for
there.
England, who they're going to appoint next, but we'll see about past that. But look, if Saka
They're
wins,
saying Lee's
if Saka,
Carsley now, to be
bro,
fair, so probably
if Saka
nothing.
wins a World Cup with England as a starter, then we'll see about the conversations. Because look, where does he go in the conversations of all-time top right wingers? A World Cup for England, that'd be crazy.
I mean, he's in terms of England players and delivering at tournaments. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's definitely up there. It's like
Recent
going
history,
back
bro.
to what
Who
you
else is
said,
up
yeah.
there?
Exactly. People like to downplay. I mean, Bex is there, but people like to downplay Saka. Like people like to forget what Saka did against France in the semi-finals. And the only and you'll probably agree as well. In the modern day, obviously goals and assists are very important. You've got to do those things. But I think you could score, play rubbish. People are going to go on sofa score,
Yeah,
whatever it is, and you had a
of course.
good game. You look at that final just with your eyes. Bukayo Saka played absolutely out of his skin, really, despite the context. Like you said, there's an air of inevitability about him. And I just feel where you look at Bukayo Saka, it's yes, there is a discount that needs to be given to every player playing under Gareth Southgate, but he found a way to thrive. Palmer, in the little minutes he got, found a way to thrive. And it just feels like, yes, Foden probably has more ability and definitely is better to watch. But what are you doing with it? If Saka's got more limitations on his skill set and he's getting more out of it, he's a better player. This is the second tournament Foden has been talked about as the poster boy and not done anything. And I don't know about you, but it just feels to me Foden is the only kind of player where you look at Foden, Saka, you know, people of that ilk. You talk up the guy, but when he doesn't do things, nobody says anything. Saka is hung out to dry when he plays good. Even Jude Bellingham, Saka, you know, Jude Bellingham, who's playing on a soldier injury and he was rubbish. You know, people have got things to say about him. And it's like, I'm not being funny. Foden is older than Saka, albeit by a couple of years. He's older than him. He's a 24-year-old man with 3 kids now. Why do they keep talking about him like he's 16, like a spring chicken? I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's probably,
do you know what? The way I look at it always is Saka surprises people. No one expected it. Not even Arsenal fans to the next stage. You know, when he came through as a left back, no one said in 3 years' time he'll be a top right winger in the world. No one thought that. And so every time he does something that elevates past that, we go, whoa, we didn't expect that. And so whereas Foden, people want to be right about it. That's what it is, you know. And the idea of being wrong, of looking at a talent and projecting him to be an all-time great, and he doesn't end up being that's why they almost wait to give him accolades. If he has one good year in the Premier League, give him the PFA Player of the Year straight away. Whereas Bukayo Saka has to go above and beyond to get that same accolade because no one expected it. He hasn't come through as a top 5 talent and he was like in the Mbappe category of this guy's a guaranteed superstar. He's had to become one. You know, he's earned his right to be in that stage now. And even now, he'll perform at a high level. He'll score goals in the Premier League, score goals in the Champions League, and still people go, well, I'm not quite sure about him. It's because you weren't sure about him in the first place. And so when he surprises you and he gives a chance to prove you wrong, you don't want to admit that. And that's exactly how it is. And
people don't eat humble pie, man.
That's what it is. But when we see him celebrating a Premier League title, and we will, you know, and a Champions League as well, we will. Then at that point,
I hope so, bro. Like, you know me, that I want the Prem, but the champs. If you offered me Prem or champs for next season,
and he's got the big years in his hands, bro. Do you know what I mean? We're taking that. But his career is gonna have that. He's too good not to have that in his career, and he's too consistent as well. And he's a learner. He always improves. We've seen him going up more levels. We'll see this year another version of Saka. Every year we've seen a better version of Bukayo Saka, and this year it'll be the same case once again.
And that's what kind of going back to what we said about the front three. Yeah, like I think where you look at our goal scoring, I think I don't think there's balance with Arsenal fans, myself included. Because for me, if I could wake up tomorrow and there was that, to go back to what you said, that striker on the market, I'll go and get him. I'll go and get an inside forward or one of the two. And I'm looking at it now, as you said as well. There's not too many. There's obviously, in theory, if we're talking about world-class, top-class players, there's a bunch of them Arsenal could improve us. But generally, it's not a thing of mass selling it. I mean, mass buying. It's just 1-2 little things. I think if I'm honest with you, and assuming we improve the midfield in our ilk, I think we'll both agree defensive we're cool. If we got all the midfielders we want and we got and we now look at the front three, as much as I like Martinelli, I'm not giving up on him. Big up Kai Havertz, and I'm not giving up on Gabriel Jesus. I look at in 3-4 years' time, out of the existing options, Bukayo is the only one I could see if we were to be a Premier League, Champions League winner, that you're a starter. By me saying starter doesn't mean you're getting sold, you're not in the side. And that's where I look at it. It's like next season, we will score goals. But with the
No, of
exception of
course.
Bukayo Saka, I just don't know who. It wouldn't surprise
Yeah.
me if Trossard, Jesus, Kai Havertz, whatever have you score. So it's a techie one, man. Are you concerned about Saka and Rice's playing time off the back of the Premier League season and obviously the Euros now heading into preparations for the new season coming?
No, not really, because does anyone talk about Rodri in that manner? Does anyone go, oh, well, Rodri needs to be replaced next year, or needs competition, or needs someone to back him up? Not really, because the best players, they will go again and again. You know, think about it. These men
Arteta
have
said
just gone from
this.
the Euros. They've gone to the Euros final, and within what, less than a month's time or so, what Premier League season starts. And so we've got to go again. They're not even going to get preseason. They're going to get to go to the USA, and so that's football. It's right now it's non-stop. And so as the top players, if you want to go and fight for all the top honours, you have to get used to it. And so you look at Man City's players. No one talks about Kevin De Bruyne in that manner or Rodri in that manner. And we have to put our players in the same category now. And thankfully, Saka and Rice have a history of being fit and available. Of course, at one stage, it'd be great to
Let's
replace
make
them.
sure that rings true,
But,
man.
of course, but at one stage, let's just say next year, we've got a top game coming up and Saka is looking a bit tired. Do you drop him? You don't. The
No.
fans wouldn't drop him. But it's on paper, it sounds good to have a backup player. It sounds good on paper to sign Michael Olise as a backup player. But why would a player leave as a starter at one Premier League club, come to Arsenal play as a backup for a player who's basically never injured anyways? And so in that manner there, I think, I would like to see a bit more rotation. But what games are we talking about here? You're talking about Champions League games. They're too important nowadays. Carabao Cup games, well, fans want to win another trophy. FA Cup games, again, it's another trophy you want to go and win. It's very hard to rotate nowadays, especially with where we're also still new to this, competing thing. In the last 2 years only. Prior to that, we're used to just seeing Arsenal, maybe fight for top four,
Just winging
maybe
it,
fight for
really.
an FA Cup, winging it exactly. So now we're getting to the stage now where we're seeing two top players in most positions. It will take time to adjust to it, but once we win our first big major honour, then I think fans will understand more and more.
And I think you're bang on the money, man. I don't think the club can win because people say we need depth. You get depth. Any players that are not in these imaginary starting 11s or whatever, it's all over. I do think we need another attacker to save Saka's legs on occasion. But as you said there, you want to win games. And people always forget, these players want to play. Of course, there's genuine concern around the amount of games Saka's played. And sometimes he's limping and things. But these players want to play. They want to achieve things. And reality is, for better or worse, this is the dynamics. If you want to be a top player in a top team, you have to play all these games. There's a broader conversation maybe to be said about these pointless international friendlies, making this new Champions League with more games and stuff. But that's got nothing to do. That's got nothing to really do with them, man. Before I let you get out of here, I've got a couple of things people wanted me to ask you about certain players. Whether we sign them or not is a completely different thing. But someone said, ask Babs about getting Rashford.
We talked about it before, man. We talked about the used BMW analogy. And look, I think if you're going to sign Rashford,
he loves a Rashford one.
You have to go and sign him now. You have to go and sign him now because I tell you what, he's a player that if you give him the right platform and if Ten Hag sorts it out, or let's just say he sack Ten Hag and get a new manager, then he could thrive straight away. And in a year's time, we could be talking about a superstar. The fans are like, oh, we might have taken him there and there. So you have to think about it now. Do you sign him now where his prices that his stocks are down? Or do you wait in the future? Because look, we talked about Rafael Leao, and that's the only other player fans talk about that's in a similar category of a tall winger who's got pace, who can burst inside and be inevitable. How much are you going to spend on Rafael Leao?
You're looking at 80 to 100 odd million, really, now.
Is he that much of a... We watched him in the Euros, by the way. Is he that much of an upgrade on Rashford? That you go and spend that much on him?
I'm not convinced by either, if I'm honest.
Of course. But at this stage right now, would I rather start Rashford or Nico Williams? Nico Williams. And the reason why 100%. Is because he's available. And Rashford's a player that, even though we talk about, signing him, when has anyone said he's available? Who's reported that he's available? And let's not forget, he's on 300k a week.
300 big boys a week.
Leaving that to come to Arsenal and not wanting more straight away. So do I want to make Rashford our highest earning player? No. So I think I wouldn't mind the profile, but logistically doesn't make any sense.
I'm with you in that. I like the profile, I like the player, but I just have concerns over his decision making. And similar to like when we signed Kai Havertz, all my faith would be in Mikel Arteta and what he could do. But as much as I like my manager, he's not Superman. You can't improve everyone. You can't get a tune out of everyone. And I think Rashford would be
that's guaranteed, I'd say.
Exactly. Like it'll be too much of a big risk. We've been linked with Daniel Marlon. A return for him. What are you saying? I'm not convinced. I must admit.
Again, they'd have to see. He'd have to be available for either a very low sum of money.
They're saying 30, 40 million euros.
Yeah, again, I don't think he's worth that in my eyes. I think he's a good player, but where does he start for Arsenal? Where does he play?
He's not an upgrade. He's just depth, really.
And there you go. He's just depth. And at this stage now, what I want to see is depth. Is sign a first team starter and take the first team player to depth. We've seen in the past with Gabriel Jesus. He was a guaranteed starter last year, and now players have come and taken his place. So that's what I want to see now. Is if you want to create depth, you go and sign an upgrade. You look at Man City. They had Nathan Ake thriving at left back. They go and sign Gavardio and drop back into the bench. That's what I want to see. That's proper ambition in my eyes.
And then it's just a fight between them. If you want to start, make yourself start. And even you look at someone like a Kanji that was probably brought in to be a kind of squad player on the peripheral things. He made himself a starter. What do you make of Eddie Nketiah potentially to Marseille? Now, some reports are saying bid's rejected. Some saying he's on it. Where are you at with Eddie?
Look, we've seen the fee they have agreed with Greenwood, so Marseille have money to spend. I don't know how much they have left to spend, but that depends. And ideally, I love Nketiah to go to a Premier League club, and that's mainly because I'm selfish, and I realise that if a Prem club wants him, we can demand the highest sum of money.
We can get some serious
these
money,
clubs in Liga and in Serie A, it's either loans or obligations to buy. We see with Tavares and Sambi as well, and they don't have as much P to spend. And so that's why I think, look, I'm hoping that a Premier League club makes a bid and it starts a bidding war, because I feel like we can demand a lot of money for him. And we've seen, who's that player from Man City who's gone to, I think he's gone back to the Championship or something, and they've spent like £50 million on him. I think he looks like a bit of his face looks like Ozil and De Bruyne. I'm not sure of his name right now, but
he's a
really tall player. I forgot his name right now.
Is it? Yeah. I want to say James McCaitry, but I'm not sure.
There is someone that they had in the academy, but he's
either way. City sell their players for big boy money.
Yeah, we've seen players that don't have as much experience as Eddie go for more money. We've seen Dom Solanke go for like £20 million before.
I know Balogun had a great loan spell, but piggybacking off of what you said, like Eddie's probably got a bigger stature or to a degree in the English game.
One thing I would say, it depends on Eddie, because we could do the Balogun route, by the way. Send him to a club that he's going to bag at, score a lot of goals, and then ask for a higher.
And then you're gone in it, because he's still on the contract for a while.
Exactly, and we've got a long-term contract as well, and so that's why I'm thinking, look, either you sell him now for a very high sum of money, or loan him out with not an option to buy, just a flat loan to a club that he's going to bank.
They covers most of the wages and we're gone.
Scores a few goals, and then you're going to have a higher demand next year. A lot of clubs nowadays, they need to see the players in action score the goals, because on paper it sounds amazing, but if they don't score the goals and if you've not got a history, a resume on part of that, then I think clubs are always a bit concerned. And with Eddie himself, he's never had a banging loan away from Arsenal. Scored a few goals at Leeds, and that was about it.
Even at Arsenal, he had some great moments. He hasn't been a prolific goal scorer.
10, 15 goals a season. And if he can do that somewhere and prove that he can do that, then he might have a higher fee. But regardless, I think this year he's going to leave over on a permanent over a loan transfer.
I must admit, as much as I think Eddie needs to move on, is it wise if we don't sign a striker? Purely because I know Eddie needs to move on. There's money to be made and stuff. And I know Kai Havertz never gets injured. Jesus does. Yeah. But you've got Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus. And I don't think Arteta is convinced wholeheartedly with consistently playing Trossard as a false nine. I think he can do it a bit like Martinelli, more so than Martinelli. But is it wise to sell Eddie Nketiah then for depth purposes? Being devil's advocate.
For the money, I think for that money you have to. It depends on the fee. If you're forcing him to leave, then it's different. But I think if you're gonna get the most money for him possible right now, then you're gonna make it happen, because the demand's there as well. Because if you don't leave Arsenal this summer, he ain't gonna be a starter. I'll tell you that for a fact.
It's peak for you.
And his stock will go down again, and so his fee will go down again. So if you want to sell Eddie Nketiah, this is the best time to sell him. And look, you can go and maybe give the likes of a young player a chance. We talk about Chido Obi, he's still very young, but you talk about young strikers for the academy, it might be a chance to be, because we're talking about a third choice option at this stage, because you got Jesus, you got Havertz, and you got even Trossard potentially in front of him. And we saw it at the end of last year. How often was Arteta starting Eddie? Rarely ever. Even off the bench at times in
the last 2-3 years. Let's have it right. Eddie's only played when there's been injuries or there's been certain things. And I'm not even trying to boy him because he's done well, but that's the reality of it.
It's true. So I think if we need to sign an emergency striker, they'll go sign someone in January. But with the amount of options that we have available right now, we've got enough goals there. And look, we don't even have to sometimes sign or start an out-and-out striker. It might even be a Trossard, who's more of a wide forward, who can play as a false nine. So I think for Eddie right now, it's the best time to let him go, either alone, as an option, or a permanent transfer, because his stock is high enough to demand a decent fee right now.
Unpopular opinion as well, like not even necessarily the player, big up Hosselu, but I'm even a big up Jess from She Knows Arsenal. She said it's like, if we could get that Hosselu, that kind of rotationary striker that could come off the bench and provide something different. It's not my exactly. Yeah, there's nothing. I'm not against it, but I wouldn't be for it. I wouldn't be against it. So my last question,
See the video of Henry?
Yeah, but I mean, at 43, he's looking all right still. He might be able to do something. You never know. Pre-season under Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, you never know.
He might be decent. To be fair, he really could, like, bro. We need.
Nah, maybe
in an ideal world, we get a striker and a winger, man. I'm confident. I don't have any reason to be confident, but I'm confident about another attacker, like a versatile kind of wide man.
We'll sign an attacker for sure.
I hope it'd be Nico Williams, but I've given up on that. I'm dream chasing. It seems like he's twerking for Barcelona. It's almost like it's not quite as extreme, but what Barcelona are doing with him during the Euros, it reminds me of when Cesc Fabregas was at Arsenal and the Barcelona players were gassing him and whatnot. Yeah. So it seems like the inevitability
Yeah, but look,
of
man,
that.
we're in California now. Club players are willing to leave Europe and leave their countries to come elsewhere. And look, if you want to become a superstar, yeah, Barca's a great choice, by the way. That's not no denying that. But coming to the Premier League, thriving for a team like Arsenal isn't a bad alternative either. And I'd say,
Williams, we can give you the money as
you know,
well, man.
we got the P to give it. We're not going to play you in Klarna. We'll pay you up front. And so I've just said, Nico, if you want to,
Deferred wages and that.
yeah, Javi, we'll give you. We won't give you not in installments. We'll pay you straight up front.
Oh man. My last question for you, someone asked me to ask before I let you get out of here. Is next season time for Mikel Arteta to deliver?
100%. And last year we were gotten a bit closer. Even last year, I
Flirting
wanted
with
the
it.
trophy, and so when we didn't win a title, I was very disappointed. But next year, for me, I demand it. I demand success, and that's what every big club does. Look at Real Madrid. What would they demand next year? They just won the Champions League, but they just had Mbappe.
Same
They demand
again as
success.
the minimum, really.
And if you want to be at that level, which we have to be at one point, that has to be the goal. It's to be like a
That
Real
has to be
Madrid.
the
You have
ambition and the
you have to
inspiration.
demand success. And I'm not saying this because it's new to Mikel. Mikel knows this more than anyone. And if you listen to
He
all his
says it.
interviews, he ain't talking about last year was alright. He said last year we deserve to win a title. I want to win a
But
title.
we didn't get it done. Yeah, but we didn't get it done, so we need to get it done.
What was the quote at the end of last season when he was speaking to the fans at the ground? We want more and we're gonna go get it. So
And that's what you
the
want to hear.
answer there. That's exactly what you want to hear. So look, I have no denying that Mikel wants to win a title this year, and I want to win a title this year. And look, we've become to the stage now where we expect it. And 2-3 years ago, we expected top 4 as a minimum. So it's changing. Our ambition is changing, and that for me is improvement.
Always evolving, man. I'm gonna ask you this the next time you're on my stream, yeah. But just because it's early doors, how confident are you of bringing the title home next season?
Very confident because of how close we are. And
Out
how
of
close
10,
the gap's
put a
getting.
number on it.
Out of 10, I'd say probably a 9 or 8.
Damn, yeah, confident.
I expect the title, man. And if I don't get it, I'll be very disappointed about it. And that's exactly. So when fans talk to me and go, "Oh, Babs he's a top Gooner. He loves Arteta. I want a title, bro. I want a title.
Two things can be true. You can love the manager and just hold man accountable.
Because I've seen improvements every single year, and when I don't see improvements, I'm going to be concerned.
I don't think you're wrong, man. And I think with football, as you probably see with your content and when you're talking, everything's white or black. Like it's either this or that. And that's not how it is. Football is way too complex. Lionel Messi on paper shouldn't have been the best footballer of his time, let alone generational talent. But he is. Football it's a logical game, but it's somewhat illogical. So who knows, man? Babs, let us know where we can find you and what content you got to come out before I let you get out of here, man. I know you got to shoot off.
Yeah, no. Babs 14 on YouTube. We're back on the content now. Obviously, was at the Euros, was very busy with content over there. But now we're back for the Arsenal content and hopefully things start happening as well because we're going to America. I'm going to America next week for the tour.
Safe journey in advance, broski.
Appreciate that. We'll see what happens there. But now, forget international football. Forget the very boring Euros tournament.
Yep.
Premier League's back. Arsenal going for a title, maybe even a champs, baby. And we'll see what happens.
Hey, you're gassing me, You're gassing me because last season, obviously, it ended in heartbreak and there was some down moments, but generally, it was plain sailing, like especially our record against the top 6. I hope that stays. I don't think it will, but I hope I'm wrong, man. But yeah, man, Babs, it's been brilliant having you. Hopefully, the next time we speak, we're still in good spirits. Obviously, safe journeys to America. People, I'm sure you lot agree and disagree with what a lot of us saying, so join the discussion. No one's right or wrong. Don't forget to subscribe to the platform, subscribe, follow, like, all of that good stuff. Babs and everyone, it's been a great one, but peace. Everyone's got to go now, man. In a bit, my dude. Safe.